Hi, I'm Mark Boucher, lead installer for JB Sash and Door. Today we'll be doing a historic single hung proper Bostonian window into an existing frame. All right, here's a list of the tools that we'll need to take out the old window and put in the new one. Basic flat bar, hammer, caulking gun, screw gun, snips, nail pullers, and some putty knives and a flat bar. Haven't nailed them. Okay, so before we start, let's go over the parts that you'll get from JB. We have balance tracks, an upper and lower sash, balance clips, stoppers, jack studs, parting bead, and side studs. All right, so we have a new unit here. Typically, we'd be doing replacement in an older unit with the pulleys and weights. So you would take all of the old window out, the old parting bead, pulleys, the weights, fill that with insulation, and then you're ready to go. Okay, now that we have our opening ready to go and cleaned out, insulated, we're ready to start step one, which would be the top sash. It's the wider sash of the two. That goes in first. We're going to lift it up and then temporarily screw it from the bottom. So next is the parting bead. You'll get this long, so you'll need to cut the bottom at the bevel of the sill. The felt pads line up with the meeting rail. So these go against the top sash, into that groove. So you might have to cut the weather strip if it's a little long. It just fits right in between the parting bead. Next, we'll nail it in. Push it on against the top sash. And you want to make sure that this stays the same size. So usually I take a part of these. These are the jack studs, which will also need to be cut. And once you cut a piece off that, you can put it in there just to make sure the parting bead stays where it needs to be. Okay, next step is to seal the parting bead in place. We use an adhesive sealant, and you just go right along the parting bead against the jam. Next step is balance clips. They come on little beige clips here. You want to bend them out a little bit, and they get nailed onto the side. A couple more for the bottom. Sometimes if your jam is wider on the bottom and the top, you would need shim behind these. Next are the balances. They just go right in the bottom and they connect to the clips. Push them in. Okay, when you get the balances, the shoe is usually up at the top, so you're going to want to pull that down with a flat screwdriver just put it on top of there and pivot it towards the outside. That will unlock it, and then slide it back towards the inside. You want it in the middle. Okay, next step is the bottom sash. You'll notice it has pivots on each side. Those will connect to the shoes and the balances. Okay, now we're putting in our bottom sash. You put the pivot into the slot and set it down onto the cams. Now we're at 90 degrees. Just try to make sure they're both at the same height. And then we'll lift it up and push the balances in and the sash at the same time. Okay, now that we have the bottom sash in, you want to check. Make sure there's no daylight under the weather strip. If you have a frame that's on a square, you'll need to sometimes plane the bottom so it's even. Or you can sometimes shim behind the balances. If it's only off a little bit, you can move it that way. Okay, so we have everything together now. Bottom sash is in. You want to make sure the top sash is in line with this at the meeting room so they're even. That's when your jack studs would come in. Again, you'll get these long, you'll need to cut them at the bevel of the sill. And they go right under the top sash. That's what bolts up the top sash. So we'll take out those temporary screws for now and install these. We'll do one side at a time. Okay, now that the jack studs are in place, we'll have our stops at the top of the balance. Plastic stops. You squeeze them and they fit right in to the top. Okay, now we'll put in our stops. We have a sill stop here and two side stops. These ones have screws for the display, but most of the time they just nailing these in. Okay, now that our window is complete, we can go over a few steps on how to service them or tweak them if you're having trouble in the field. Okay, sometimes in the older frames, you'll see the jambs will blow out a little bit. You can take a measurement of that compared to the top and bottom. When that happens, you'll sometimes see space between the sash and the balance. What we do in that case is we use masonite shims behind there, any length that you need just to keep that up against the sash. Just another tip here, the balances have to move. You can't really see it, but they do move a little when the sash goes up and down. So don't put any caulking in there. These have to stay mobile. Another tip would be to take a little off the top sash before you put it in. Maybe buzz an eighth off. That'll give you a little more room to make sure these line up perfect. You can always drop it down a little bit and fill it after. That makes it a little easier to line these up.